They took her from the relief ship. She wasn't a soldier. She wasn't armed. She was 17. Her name was Lyra Vale, humanitarian envoy, translator, just a girl with a smile and a medical satchel. The Drektar didn't care. To them, humans were intruders, contaminants, curious vermin. When their patrol ship spotted the Terran skiff on the edge of Zone 7A, they boarded without warning. They found 5 people on board, 4 adults, 1 teenager. They killed the adults quickly, but Lyra was young, fragile, unarmed, so they kept her. She was chained in their interrogation vault, naked under the freezing vent systems. Needles, hooks, fluids. The Drektar weren't sadists. They were scientists. Cold ones. They wanted to know why human prisoners lasted so long. They wanted to test limits. So they tested hers. Her heart stopped at 18 hours, 17 minutes into captivity. Skeletal fractures, respiratory trauma, organ hemorrhage. She died with her eyes open. The Drektar took notes. They removed her body and dumped outside the station in orbit. No ceremony, no disposal, just vacuum. And then, 37 minutes later, the alarms began. Docking sensors triggered. Hull pressure fluctuated. A single heat signature reappeared, where there should have been none. Something was walking across the hull. No suit, no boots, barefoot, in space. Toward them, security drones launched. Cameras spun. Internal defenses activated. Even the Drektar's High Warlord came to control deck. What they saw made no sense. A human girl, eyes burned black, skin etched with plasma scarring, still glowing. She shouldn't have been able to move, or breathe, or live, but she walked, one step at a time, right back into their ship. They tried to seal the airlock. It melted. She didn't wait for it to open. She passed through it like it was fog. Inside, lights flickered. Temperature spiked. Magnetic fields crashed. The Drektar screamed orders. Sent guards. Sent mechs. Sent sonic disruptors. She didn't flinch. She looked at the first soldier that approached, tilted her head, and said a single word. "You left me cold." Then everything around her burned. It wasn't fire. It wasn't plasma. It was her. Her breath boiled metal. Her skin cracked the deck plates beneath her feet. Every scream she'd ever made during those 18 hours came back, reversed, amplified, turned into a wave of annihilation. The Drektar tried to run. Doors sealed themselves shut. Windows shattered from the inside. And the girl kept walking, room to room, deck to deck, until every system went offline. Her face was calm, expressionless, but her eyes weren't human anymore. Something had followed her back. Something that didn't like being interrupted. When the rescue team arrived 11 hours later, they found a ship full of ashes. Every Drektar dead, vaporized, desiccated. No signs of weapons. Just one unharmed Terran girl, curled up in a medbay, alive, vital signs stable, heart beating, as if nothing had happened. But there was one difference. She didn't cast a shadow anymore. They ran 317 tests. MRI, DNA sequencing, neural scans, even dark-field quantum imaging. Everything said the same thing. She was Lyra Vale. Same fingerprints, same memory patterns, same scar on her left ankle from a childhood fall on Mars 3. But something was off. Every doctor felt it. They couldn't explain why the machines glitched around her, why the lights dimmed when she walked in, why her breath fogged on the inside of sealed chambers, and why none of them could remember what she looked like once they left the room. Command classified her existence within 11 hours. Even Terran High Command couldn't ignore the facts. Lyra had no oxygen exposure during her return. Her body temperature fluctuated by 30 degrees Celsius without distress. The Drektar ship's internal logs showed her being dead. They called in the Black Archive. The scientists didn't talk to her. They interrogated her. "How did you survive exposure to vacuum for over 30 minutes?" "I didn't." "Where did you go after death?" She tilted her head. "I wasn't gone." "You were." "What killed the Drektar?" "I don't remember killing them." But they're dead. She smiled. Softly. Good. They tried to move her to containment. 3 guards escorted her to the transport chamber. Only one came back. He was deaf, mute, blinded in both eyes. No burns, no bruises, no trauma, just broken. When they asked him what happened, he kept whispering the same thing. She's not alone. Security camera footage showed no struggle, only her walking past the guards, and the shadows moving differently behind her. Psychological analysis failed. Standard empathy assessments triggered false readings. The machine said she was calm even when describing her death in graphic detail. The Terran assembly met in secret. Earth was no longer discussing war. It was discussing containment. The girl they'd recovered wasn't a weapon. Weapons could be aimed. She was a window, one that didn't close. Every month, the anomalies grew. Gravity around her fluctuated at night. Dogs barked when she smiled. Babies cried when she was nearby, and stopped breathing if she stared too long. Time slowed in hallways she walked through. Entire seconds vanished from local clocks. Something was bleeding through her. Not always, not violently, just leaking, like pressure behind glass. Then the signals returned. Deep space monitors at station Omega 16 picked them up. Not radio, not tachyon pulses. Impressions, thoughts, memories, echoes of voices not made for air. But they all carried the same idea. She is our vessel. You broke the law of silence. Now she speaks with the tongue of the forgotten. The Council tried to relocate her off-world. They built a ship, designed an artificial singularity containment cell, plotted a vector far beyond the galactic rim. They didn't even make it to launch, because she disappeared. From her chamber, from the base, from Earth. And at that exact moment, 9 Drektar dreadnoughts vanished from their warpath near Vega 9. Not destroyed, removed, scrubbed from history. Not even gravitational wakes were left, just empty space. Lyra reappeared 3 days later, in the original Drektar torture chamber, alone, unmarked, and she spoke. No cameras recorded it, but every sentient telepath on Earth and beyond heard it in their dreams. I remember pain. I remember silence. You thought your cruelty would echo unanswered. You were wrong. The Drektar fled from every Terran border overnight. Even their war priests dropped to their knees when the stars above them flickered. They believed they had hurt a child. They didn't realize they had knocked on a door. And now that door was open. Back on Earth, Lyra sat beneath the stars. She didn't eat, didn't sleep, didn't blink for hours. When a reporter once shouted from a drone, "What are you now?" she looked up calmly and whispered, "I'm the question that made the universe flinch." Later, scientists discovered the truth, hidden in her blood. Each of her cells now contained a 10th strand of DNA. It wasn't human, wasn't alien. It wasn't anything known. But when sequenced, it hummed, vibrated, and rearranged the code of nearby machines. They called it the Echo Strand. Some worshipped it, some feared it,